Listen up.
Welcome to the PowerShell Podcast, the podcast for PowerShell and the PowerShell community. And now, here's your host, Andrew Plaw.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the PowerShell Podcast, your podcast for everything PowerShell. We're chitting, we're chatting, we're learning together. I am your host, Andrew Plaw. That is at Andrew Plaw Tech on all socials. I've been posting clips from the podcast, so if you ever miss episodes, you want to keep up with what's going on, I'll put a couple clips on socials for you. You can view from a distance, and if you want to dive deeper, well, you're here right now. So thank you for being here with us. I am very excited for our guest today because before I met this person in real life, in my mind, they were the size of a finger, very, very tiny, because I actually met them virtually. But this person's been involved in the community for quite a while, speaker, involved in putting together user groups, has spoken at PowerShell Wednesday by the time you're listening to this. Just a gem of a person. I was fortunate enough to meet them at PowerShell Conference Europe. Constantin, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. I got to add context because I just told them I think you're the size of a finger. That is because we met virtually and your character was, the size of a pixelated character that fits in a 1x1. But I remember it so distinctly because we were doing the PowerShell Conference Europe Minicon, I think, right? Which they're about to do here shortly. I think the week before this goes live.
Tuesday on my birthday. Correct. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. 100% recommend you check out the PowerShell Conference Europe Minicons. They're very cool. They take place on this thing called Gather, which is like a virtual platform where you control a character, you run around, it's like cool retro. You can walk into rooms and only speak to people in that room. So it like takes care of the audio video stuff. Constantine, you've been to a bunch of them. You've been involved in the Europe scene for quite a while, right?
So I've attended PowerShell Conference Europe when it first started in Hanover. So when the first Hanover conference had happened, I changed companies at the time to my current employer. And my boss at the time asked me if I wanted to go to conference, and I've never been to a conference before. So then I checked, okay, what am I interested in? And say, okay, I want to know more about PowerShell. I check out what's on the schedule or what's in Europe. Then I stumbled across the PowerShell Conference Europe, and then I attended it, and it was the conference where Jeffrey Snover told us about 5.1. So PowerShell 5.1 went out at the time. And he gave us around about the background of how did PowerShell was or how PowerShell was created and so on. So it was very interesting for me to hear it for the first time because the book from Don Jones was not out at that time. So it was really cool. And just to meet people like Bruce Payette or Chris Lemaire did her first session ever on the PS Conf. So it was really, really cool, really exciting. Yeah.
How did that feel for you? Because your first conference, so you're already kind of expanding your perspective on IT by kind of networking with more people. But then also this company that's based in the States, the inventor of PowerShell, Jeffrey Snover, is all of a sudden like in front of you. Was that like, what was your headspace like? I can imagine it's like kind of an interesting time to be in your shoes.
Yeah. So that was my first ever conference, my first ever technical conference. And it seemed a bit surreal to meet with the actual team from Microsoft, because if you know Microsoft and I'm not living in the US, I have to travel across to go to US. So to meet an actual Microsoft employee, that's a rare thing. So if you're not in the MVP space or so it was a bit surreal. But at first I was not. Let me put it like this: I was not aware of how much of an impact would this thing have on my career, because I was at the beginning of my career. I was just starting at the company and just doing my first steps with PowerShell, and then I went to the conference, and then I saw all this amazing stuff that you could do with it, and then I really start investing in it. Yeah.
Who were your first friends you kind of made in the community?
I think the first networking or the first friends I made there was when I actually was at the conference, because I was not involved in the community at first. So I met people like Raymond, Fred, or Raymond and Ray. So he's still a Microsoft employee. He works on AutomatedLab. Fred, he's working with PSFramework, and that was and also Raymond was also learning at the time. So that really, really exciting times. So
yeah,
and that was my first ever networking event. So and I met with them every year. So yeah,
and that's interesting.
I meet with them every year
because you also are using their projects all the time now.
Right.
That's PSFramework and AutomatedLab. And I think we should talk about those a little bit, because I've talked to Fred a lot about PSFramework, and I've used it too. But I think it'll be really interesting to see somebody who's kind of adopted it for themselves and hear your perspective on it. So,
I think we can start with PSFramework first. So I stumbled across doing some conversation with Fred, and he delivered also many talks about PSFramework, and you should use it for logging, and it also has a configuration framework, and it has this and this and this. He was countless times in my user group to present about his toys, and it was really cool to see you don't have to write your own logging function over and over again. And the logging function will differ. Then you write to this and you write to that, and but you have to re-implement every time you write to something else, like a log file. Then you have to write to log analytics. Then you have to write to the event log. You always have to think about how to write the thing yourself. And if you have PSFramework, for example, which can log to every one of these places which I just mentioned, so it can log to event log, it can log to log file, it can log to log analytics, it can log to Graylog, and many more. Then you just have to write PSF message, and then if you initialize the correct logging provider before, then you just have to write PSF message, and it writes to your target. That's the easiest way to log.
Yep. Yeah. And I think it's how I think of it. It's like, if you have PowerShell scripts that are doing things, if you want to make them enterprise grade and kind of borrow from the practices of somebody who really has seen things, has run into the edge cases of like logging, because a lot of people will write their own logging function, and maybe it will work for you for your use case, but it probably won't scale. You're going to have to readdress the code. I think there are a lot of benefits to be gained from adopting something like PSFramework. And
he also has revamped his website.
Very recently.
Yes, that was really, really cool for me, because the last website, we can cut that out, but the last website was a bit strange to work with, but this website is really cool. Yeah,
it's gotten better.
And what I'm also using is the configuration part of the PSFramework. So I do my configuration settings. So I have a big side project that I'm working on with a colleague, and we have to store some config values and also validate them. And that's also cool that you can persist them. So you don't have to use get PSF config and so on. So you can persist them to the registry. You can persist them to a file. And that's also a cool thing, that you can roll them out with group policy. So you only have to create registry keys, or you have to create a file on the other end with the PSFramework config, and then you can say import PSF config, and your settings are there. So that's also really neat.
When you say config, what are you configuring? Like, what kind of values would someone need to configure?
So, for example, we are doing a dashboard with PowerShell Universal. We are doing a WSUS reporting tool. And for example, you have to configure some values like what is the database server, or what is the reporting server, what are the update waves that you have to do, and so on. And you are not in the need to ever do some get content of some config file or so. You just import it into the logging system, and then you can say get PSF config value, your full name of the config. value, and then you have your value for your config stuff. Yeah, that's just very, very generic. Yeah.
PSFramework has a lot to it too.
Yes.
I feel like there's nobody who's going to need all of it, but it's there. I mean, there's maybe some people who would if you're, the head of all of Microsoft and for all their different use cases. Okay. But for most people, you're not going to need it all, but it is there for you. And if you can spend some time digging into it, you're going to make your code a little bit more future-proof than it would be otherwise. And you'll actually learn a ton about coding in general, because Fred's pretty good, I'd say.
Yes. And really good is a bit, yeah. He told me something at the last PSConf that I shouldn't use write output. And I've never used it since. So
write PSF message.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Write PSF message, or if you can't use write PSF message because you can't use the module or so, you just wrote your quotation mark and then you write your text, because you don't need write output for this.
Yeah, it's automatically there. I do that all the time. Yeah. I'm glad that I have something in common with Fred, because it is something you don't often see. You're not used to just seeing raw output, but that's how PowerShell works. For better or for worse, if you're not used to it, it could catch you off with like loops and stuff. But it'll output whatever you give it. If it's a string, it's going to out default, I think is the command that is appended to everything you run. Out default.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. That was last year at the PowerShell Conference Europe. So if you want to check out the recordings, Fred did a talk about this. Yeah.
Nice. Fred is awesome.
Yeah.
He's one of those people who has like so much PowerShell is so close to his brain. Like I can do some stuff in PowerShell, but I'm going to need to like sit and get GitHub open, like let myself settle in. His workflow is so streamlined, and in his brain, he can get to that stuff so quick that like you give him a quick little idea for his project, boom, 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 boom. He's tested, he's committed the code, and the tests are running. And that's it. And that's how it kind of should be, because a lot of these changes we're making are small. But if you aren't regularly doing that, it takes some time to get familiar with the tooling. Justin Grody's another one of those people who's just kind of like right there. It's very accessible to write the code. Where do you fall on that?
Just to repeat the question. What?
Where do you fall on that spectrum? Are you like really quick to write code? You're always like maintaining modules?
Yes, I'm doing it now for nearly daily, so many years that if someone tells me an idea and I say, okay, I have to write this and this and this, and there's this and this and this. Okay, perfect. Just doing some clicky and then play and then works. So they in my company, before ChatGPT evolves so much, I had to have many one-on-one calls with people who need very little PowerShell scripts or so. But I also in my job, I'm doing the very complex module stuff where we have to, for example, migrate users from one domain to another with just a CSV file and so on. So that's a bit of a more complicated stuff. Or creating OU structures with permissions and so on. So that is always the thing where I have to write them myself. So yeah.
Are you the best at PowerShell where you work, or do you have other people who are similar?
I'm the leader of the PowerShell virtual team in my company. So we meet regularly to come up with standards. For example, I have built my own or our company's Visual Studio Code. So I have so you can make Visual Studio Code portable by creating a data folder inside of the VS Code stuff, and then you can install all the extensions and so on, and your settings and so on. And I built a release pipeline, Azure DevOps release pipeline, where I build every week the newest portable VS Code with our settings and our extensions and so on. And I built a script where they can download the VS Code and use it. Yeah.
So it's kind of similar to like a workspace, only you don't have to pay for it, and it's like customized for you, sort of.
Right. Yeah. So I want to make them. I wanted to make it for them as easy as possible, because I'm doing it for the people who are not familiar with the big VS Code framework or the big VS Code editor, and what settings do they have to do? What extensions should they have to use for Azure, for Terraform, for PowerShell, for this? And I've built a whole framework around building the VS Code for our company.
I need some time to process this because that is very clever. And I think because that is such a common thing. You learn PowerShell, that's awesome for you. The rest of your team may not be there yet. You have to meet them where they are. Getting them running code is one thing, and they're going to be in the ISC. Getting them in VS Code, they should probably learn PowerShell before they learn VS Code. So it shouldn't really come. But if you make it really easy for them, which is the biggest thing, anybody who's new to VS Code, there's going to be some hurdles you're going to run into, which is what sounds like you are kind of solving with this, which I've never heard of, making it portable. Or is that like a documented thing? Or are you going rogue? What's going on?
That's a documented thing. I first heard about it from Justin Grody, because he delivered a talk on. So he has this thing, a yearly what's new in VS Code. What extension did he use? What settings does he use? How does his VS Code look like, and so on. And he mentioned this. Download the zip file of VS Code, create a data folder in it. And at the moment, the data folder exists inside of the directory from VS Code. Then VS Code thinks, okay, I don't have to create the users .VS Code extensions or so. I can work in this data folder. This is a supported way of doing a portable VS Code.
Well, when did you hear that? This year or last year?
No, it's 5-6 years ago or so. Oh, wow. Yeah. Justin mentioned that. Yeah, I say, okay, that's a cool thing. I can create my own zip file and say, okay, please download it. And I also build around a little framework. So if a user has, for example, made his own settings, then they will get exported before, then the VS Code gets deleted, the new one gets downloaded, then the settings gets merged with my settings. If the user has more extensions installed, then the extension will get installed, and then it's ready to use. Yeah.
Interesting. Is this is this public or is this an internal project?
It's for my company only.
Yeah.
So I want to have I wanted to make a session last year on this year's PSConf about it, because there is no code from my company in it. So
yeah.
If you want, we can cut that out. Also, if you want, I can do another Wednesday about it.
Hey, let's keep it in. Let the people tease them a little bit, because at the time of recording, there will be a PowerShell Wednesday linked in the show notes below, where you have given us a fantastic talk. I mean, it might have been one of the best talks of my life. I can't say for sure yet, because how time works, and we're in the past.
Thank you. I'm very honored about it. Thank you.
It's glorious. But could you remind us what you talked about?
So I talked about AutomatedLab, which was it's maintained by Jan-Hendrik Peters and Raimund Andre. Raimund is from Microsoft. Jan was working there, but now works at a German energy deliverer. And they built this cool framework called AutomatedLab, where you can codify your test environment. So you can write, for example, 3 lines of PowerShell, and you have one Windows 11 machine or one Windows server, and so on. So you have to. So it can be a bit of a learning curve. So I also showed some more advanced topics, and I also I talked about it when I was. I talked about it in PSConf Europe 2024 when I had a talk delivered on AutomatedLab and SQL Server. So we can also link that in the show notes, I think. And I will show something about what I did, to give it a bit advanced stuff. And I also delivered the more basic stuff. What do you need? What it is, and so on. And also where you can get help and get examples and so on. Yeah.
Nice. It's pretty powerful. I've had both of them on the podcast in the past. If you want to check out those episodes.
Yeah.
But man, AutomatedLab is just, I think people are going to keep hearing about it. I've mentioned it. I think we had Stevie Coaster on a couple of weeks ago. I think we talked about it there. You need to be using something. AutomatedLab, if you're a PowerSheller, what a great fit. What a great chance to, if you're newer to PowerShell, practice your PowerShell skills, or if you're more experienced, take advantage and be able to kind of read files a little easier because you're familiar with the language.
Yeah, and that's what I saw the value, because Stevie started on the PowerShell Universal dashboard for AutomatedLab, and even Jan Hendrik told in the has commented in a LinkedIn post about it that this was a top priority customer feature, that they want to have a UI for AutomatedLab, because it's so much that you can do with AutomatedLab. And that's why I contributed to Stevie's work. So I already got one pull request in. I have to do some pull requests or some pull requests to AutomatedLab to have my second pull request merged in with Stevie. And then I think we have a pretty good start around the built-in roles that AutomatedLab has. We will also, or I showed that in the Wednesday, what roles you can have, and also build some roles.
Yeah, that's awesome. Check it out. Recording is fantastic. And I just appreciate anybody who has made a public module for us to use, because there are a lot. You've mentioned a couple. PSFramework is one of those where a lot of people rely on it. AutomatedLab is another one of those where a lot of people get a ton of value from it. I encourage people out there, if you have not gotten involved in open source, what a great opportunity. Try something, contribute to a project that you use. I am not as good at coding as Fred, but guess what? I am a contributor on the PSFramework project because I found a little piece that I could handle, right? A function that I could write or something like that. And that's how these big projects go. You don't have to understand every single aspect all over it to make a change to the documentation. And just do it because you'll be showing up on the contributors. It's cool.
Yes.
If there's only a couple contributors, you can be one of two people. Might as well. I don't know. I like that GitHub. I'm very proud of myself for getting started so long ago, because now it's like not stressful. But for a while, it was really stressful in the beginning of like, oh, contributing code. What are people going to think? I spent a lot of time very concerned about what other people would think about my code. You ever been in that spot?
Yeah, when I contributed before to AutomatedLab to make their install lab feature or lab Windows feature a bit better. And I always had this, or during developing the code, I'd say, oh, okay, I could do it better there, and no, I don't know I don't know the whole framework, so if I did something wrong, Raymond will come and shoot me and so on. But that didn't happen. So I did the pull request, and he gave me some tips, and I reworked them, and then he merged it. So that's that. I was totally surprised that this was so easy. So
it really is. And people who are in those positions of maintaining these big modules oftentimes are really happy to get that help from somebody else. For a whole bunch of reasons. Like my first time ever contributing public code was to PSUtil, Fred's PSUtil project. And Fred was very kind to me. He helped me figure out a function that I could add and that kind of thing. And Fred is one of them, but there are other people with projects who are very happy to help a beginner do their first contribution. It's similar to PowerShell, and like people who do the open source stuff. It's very rewarding, and you kind of want to share that experience with others. And it's like same community vibe where like if you bring up other people, all of a sudden there's more open source maintainers and we help each other, and it's good vibes all the way down.
And I also maintain a module. I wrote a secret management. No, not this. I wrote a secret management provider for Pleasant Password Server. And I was not, that's the thing as a module author, you do this because you have a use case. But if you make that public and someone uses it and has his own use case, then he can contribute to it, and everyone downloads the new code and say, okay, now I have this new functionality also. So don't hide your addition to public modules. Just hand them in, and then they will be merged, and then there will be a new version out. So everyone can profit from this.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also just filing issues to ask a question or ask for clarification, like do something. If you've done nothing, open up an issue. If you get confused at some point, nobody's going to think you're an idiot. If the worst case, the documentation could be improved and they might not do it. It's all good. You open up an issue, you get started, you'll see it's okay. You can do more and get the ball rolling from there. And then, because this is what happens, people start doing that long enough. They start taking these chances and growing a little bit. And all of a sudden you fast forward, you've done that for a little bit. You're like looking around and wondering, how the heck did you get here? Well, it's possible for everybody out there as well. Like if you're geeking out on a PowerShell podcast like this, there's absolutely nothing stopping you from having the same kind of journey that we're talking about here.
Yeah. I remembered when I opened an issue on the PowerShell repo to ask something about classes, I also was very concerned about that someone writes in the solution, "Are you dumb?" That's the thing. Blah, blah, blah. But they were very polite. They explained them very well, and then I understand the problem. So don't hesitate to ask questions in Discord, Slack. Open an issue on the repo. Open an issue on your tools that you have questions about. When I started in the community, I think it's the most engaging, the most polite community, the most welcoming community. So
important to say that.
Yeah.
As I've been doing this lately, I've just been, because I know some of the listeners and I know there's a lot of people who listen regularly, but they haven't started that journey. They've wanted to do their first blog or they've wanted to like publish their first GitHub repo, but they're still in the overthinking stage. And I'm wondering, as I do this more, do the podcast more and kind of learn more about them, I'm wondering what I can do to make that easier. I think that what you said though about the community is really friendly and welcoming is always a great reminder, because nobody's going to bite you because we want our community to be great. There really isn't much toxicity. I will give a warning, the PowerShell Reddit, good luck there. But outside of that, like if you're with real people, you're going to have a great time.
Especially if I joined the PDQ Discord server and they have a really nice channel, the PowerShell channel, where everyone is there that is involved in the community. So if you ask there a question, you will really get an answer. Yeah.
Yep. We have experts. We have beginners who are writing their first script, which is so cool. And I'm so thankful when somebody asks a question, puts together their script. Somebody just did one recently with some regex and it was kind of confusing for them and they had to like exclude certain things but they had it at the end and they wrote their first script and it actually worked and they had a huge win for themselves. And it's so cool that I got to like see somebody have a great day. That's awesome. I love seeing the PowerShell take off for people. And that's discord.gg/PDQ. If you want to join us there, PowerShell scripting channel, we're always having fun. I think it's about 60% PowerShell talk, 40% joking about PowerShell talk, but it's a healthy mix.
Nice.
So we mentioned a couple of projects that are pretty helpful. I think with PSFramework, AutomatedLab, mentioned PSUtil briefly, secret management.pleasant password server. Heyo. I think we want to talk about DBAtools a little bit too. Have you used DBAtools? Because that is a great one. Another easy win for people out there if you have not used it and you do DBA stuff, right?
Yeah, so in my job, I am also in a leading role of having the SQL Server responsibility at my company. I have a team 4 or 5 people, I think, now to do standards for SQL Server, to do some support. So the daily stuff that you have to do as a DBA. To go some troubleshooting and so on. And we have written our internal wiki documentation around how to install, what is a start if you are not having any knowledge about SQL Server. What do you need to know? And I think 90% of it is DBAtools. What do you have to do if you back up a database? Backup DBA database. What do you do if you have to restore DBA database? What do you need if you want to install a instance? Install something from DBAtools. So for nearly every job you can do in SQL Server, you have a commandlet. So it's really really powerful tool. And I was not there when Chrissy first. It was, I think, her first session when she mentioned something about DBAtools, because I think the story was she works at a company. She has to move some SharePoint databases from one instance to another, and then she wrote a script about it, and then the script turned into a module, and that was, I think, the story of DBAtools. And now it has hundreds of commands. So it's really one of the biggest modules that we have in, and so one of the biggest community modules in the PowerShell space, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Fred did a lot of the work on that. Yes. He's not a DBA person, but he has that scalability and he helped some kind of backend stuff with it.
I think the config system that they use in DBAtools was the start of the PSFramework project, I think. But I'm not sure. We have to.
That sounds about right. There is some,
but I think so.
Stuff there. Yeah, he definitely did some stuff for PSFramework for DBAtools that made its way back. But did you know DBA life before DBAtools, or are you spoiled and you got in after already knowing about it?
So I was a DBA before, and then I saw the talk of Chrissy doing DBAtools. So okay, that was what I needed years before doing the next finished thing of installing a server or doing restores graphically or so. So you can do it with T-SQL, but if you are a PowerShell guy or someone who uses PowerShell and you don't know SQL very well, but you have to restore 100 databases, you have to go to the GUI 100 times to restore a database, and that's very time consuming. So if you have 100 restore DBA database commands and you just press play and wait, it's a better experience. It's a faster experience. And if you're not familiar with T-SQL, then it was challenging before. So you are able to write this before, but you have to know SMO, so SQL Server Management Objects, to program this with .NET and so. And it was not the best experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
And DBAtools is one. Shout out to Chrissy. DBA checks.
Yes.
What is this?
DBA checks is also a cool project. I think Rob and Jess are doing much work there in this space. So Rob Sewell and Jess Bromfeld also. They are both MVPs. If you don't know them,
check them out.
Yeah, check them definitely out. Yeah. And DBA checks is a module where you can say invoke DBA check, and then you give it the SQL instance, and then the instance will go through a armada of pester tests, and then you will get a report after this, how the server is doing. For example, if you have when were your last backups of a database, and or what are some numbers that you need to know for a DBA. You can configure it with the PSFramework. Surprise, surprise. And then you will run it again. You can run it consistently. You can I think you can store the results in the database and so on to check how your state of SQL servers are evolving or how they are doing.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, that makes life easy. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, if you are a DBA and you've never heard of DBAtools and you end up using it, let me know. Because it's one of those, it's going to just kind of make your life way easier really quick. Like instantly, you know?
If you check PSConfig, the channels from the last years, you will find definitely a talk about DBAtools and also DBA checks. So shout out to Rob and Jess, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So many great people have kind of come from that DBAtools project. That has its own kind of subculture that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I want to talk about user groups, man, because not only are you using other people's stuff, but you're leading the next generation now that you're more advanced in your career. And I want to cover your career a little bit after, because you started some humble beginnings and now you've really come full circle. But let's talk about your user group. What do you got going on here?
So I'm not a native speaker, so maybe you are aware of that, because I'm not having the best English, but I work on this. So I'm actually from Germany. I'm from Bavaria, so the south of Germany. And I started, I think, 2 years ago, or nearly 2 years ago, a user group, which is called PowerShell User Group in Salzach, or Salzach, like you said. And this is called in Salzach because we have different regions inside of Bavaria, and one region is called the In Salzach. And why it is called this? The In and the Salzach are rivers that are in this region. And I started it with with something like, okay, maybe I can have speakers from that region, that they come to me, that we can have some in-person stuff, but we are definitely 100% virtually. So I haven't had any personal meeting or so. So I only have virtual meetings. So I have people on from all around the world. So we started with German guys. I think the first one was Fred, talking about his GI analyzer stuff. And we have people from the US, from many countries now who spoke in my user group. I also did 2 or 3 sessions, but I will give speakers, also first-time speakers, a chance to speak, a chance to train, because I think it's really valuable to start at a user group. And if you want to speak more, then get you prepared for the big stage, for PSConf, for DevOps Global Summit, or so, for example, because it can be very nerve-wracking, daunting to speak at such an event for this many people, and you will get recorded, so don't mess up and so on. So if you are in a user group, especially so for example, in my user group, it's always a safe space. So if you mess up, then I will moderate a bit, or I will ask questions so that the speaker feels comfortable and so on, and that he don't speak to no one or so. So that's I think I'm very certain about, because I know how it is to speak first time and so on, and be a bit nervous. So yeah.
Yep. And I think that it is possible for your first one, if you get accepted at a big conference, to do it. Mm-hmm. I think that it is going to be more stressful. And if you want that and you're ready for it, that's nothing wrong with that. But I think for some of us, like me, I prefer smaller bites. I don't want to take the whole sandwich. I'll take one little nibble at a time. And then it's a little bit easier. You kind of find yourself. I think a lot of it for me was also just meeting people as you go. And all of a sudden, oh, hey, one person out there. What's the worst that could happen? Right? You're not a totally new to all of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, for example, just providing a little bit of a list, what speakers were on before. So I had Adam Driscoll. Adam Driscoll is the inventor of PowerShell Universal. He will be on in 2 weeks at my user group. Then we had Sam Erdy, who is now an MVP. He talked, I think he was a first-time speaker with his PS pre-workout module. Then we had Morten Münster.
Morten.
2 times he was talking about Microsoft Graph.
Yep.
We had Fred on, I think, 4 or 5 times talking about his tools. So PSUtil, PS module development, PSFramework, and many, many more. So I got some proposals. So if you want to speak, we have a Sessionize page. We can link them in the show notes if you, I think. Yeah. And if you want to apply, you can just submit a session. I will take a look at the session, contact you when you want to speak. And I think in November we have someone who has never spoken before. I don't know his name. No, he's not well known. He's not a known community member, but I asked him, okay, the topic seems interesting. Have you spoken before? No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then I give him a stage to talk, and let's see what comes out.
Perfect. Yeah. And I just want to clarify, your next meeting is actually on the 23rd. That is 2 days from the time of this going live. So October 23rd.
Right. Yeah. October 23rd. Adam Driscoll is on and talks about what's new in PowerShell Universal. He will give a little bit of a roadmap. He will talk about the new features, and then the community can take the stage and show the dashboards that they've built. So let's see.
I got some surprise questions for you, Constantine. But first, a word from our sponsors.
This is the PowerShell Podcast.
Most of you know the PowerShell Podcast is sponsored and made possible by PDQ. I've had questions from listeners asking, what's PDQ and what do you do? Well, we help IT teams automate endpoint management. PDQ Connect is our cloud-based tool for real-time software deployment, patching, scripting, remote access, and vulnerability management. It's fast, flexible, and built for people who just want things to work. If you want to see it in action, head to pdq.com/podcast and check out our interactive demo. No signups, no emails, no credit card, just a fast and easy way to explore how it works. That's pdq.com/podcast. Automated endpoint management that doesn't slow you down.
Now, back to the PowerShell Podcast.
All right, Constantine, what an ad read. Oh my gosh, I love that guy. Whoever said those things, that guy's great. I want to go back to PowerShell Conference Europe. It was a little bit ago now, but I know I have some strong memories about the food there. Is there anything about the food in Sweden? Any memories that come to mind when you think about PSConf EU?
Yes, definitely. So we went, I think it was on the last night, I think we went to a bar when the speaker then happened, I think on Wednesday it was. We went to a bar where you can play some pool and so on. And we ordered the Swedish meatballs. That was spot on. That was really nice. Yeah.
Yep. I love that place. I went there as soon as I went there the first time. I went there every single night after, except for the company party.
Okay.
It was fun, man. I think that one night, we didn't expect a ton of people to come, but I asked a couple people, and then everybody came by after, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, there's 3 employees here."
Nearly every speaker arrived after the speaker dinner too.
It was awesome.
To get some drinks. Yeah. Really nice.
It's a great time. When was your first time speaking at PSConf EU?
It was 2024. 2024, I spoke the first time. I had 2 sessions. One was about AutomatedLab and SQL Server, how to install SQL Server in 3 different ways with AutomatedLab. And the other session was about dev containers. So running PowerShell Universal in a dev container. That was the second session. Yeah.
Nice. Are you a big dev container fan now?
Yes. I use it very often for myself. And yeah, I'm thinking about how to integrate it into my work, especially for my peers, because it can be a bit challenging if you don't know anything about containers. But I use them every day for universal development, for PowerShell development, if I have to have different versions of PowerShell running to test something and so on. It's very easy. If you don't want to use GitHub's code spaces, for example, you can use that as well. But I use it on my local machine to test something out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Module Fast. You mentioned it once earlier. I've talked to Justin about it. Module Fast, it's the fastest way to install modules.
It is. Yeah.
What are you using it for? Why do you need to install these modules so fast? Can you just slow down a little bit, man?
So if you want to slow down in installing the AZ and the Microsoft Graph modules, then you are slowing it.
So that's the reason
very much
you have
down,
those big dependencies where it's like 100 submodules. It'll take literally minutes.
That's the first reason, and the second reason, it's OneDrive will not get crazy, because if you are using OneDrive and your documents folder is there, which usually is, then OneDrive starts to synchronize everything. And if you are using module fast, then normally it goes in your into your app data local, I think it is, app data local PowerShell, and then you will have your modules. And if you import module fast into your PowerShell profile, then it will add the module path to it, and then you will have your modules. Yeah.
Nice.
So I download nearly everything with module fast. Yeah. And
really?
it's also cool. So I'm not using it for this purpose, but I think I'm going to use it in the future. If you have some kind of a CI/CD dependency, and you want to have modules downloaded every run time, then you use install module or install PS resource, but install PS resource is faster than install module, but you have to install PS resource first. Then you can just do a bitly module fast and then install module fast something, and it is quick. Yeah, so that was the Justin delivered also a talk, I think, when we were in Antwerp, I think, in Antwerp about module fast, and I was sold on this.
It's pretty impressive, the modules he can write. He has a really great modern cloudy approach to things where he's taking advantage of services that people may not know about or be taking advantage of. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. And he also has another module which is called Excel Fast.
Yes.
Where you can import or export very fast to Excel. So it's about if you have 1 million or more rows that you have to write to Excel. Everyone knows export Excel or import Excel from Duckfink.
I've heard of that module.
Yeah, but it's not so performant if you have to write millions and millions of lines, and that's where Justin closed the gap with his Excel Fast module.
Nice.
Also a talk from last year, if you want to see it on the PS Conf view.
He's got to talk for everything, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He really does. People like Justin and Fred, if you were to have a podcast with them, like, you cannot talk about all their projects. You cannot cover them all in one. You just can't. There are too many. Like, you're talking about Gia stuff too that Fred's done. I'm like, that's its own whole thing. And these are actually really great solutions too, which is kind of wild because it's like the same standard. When you have all the same tooling, the only thing that's different is a little script at the end, and we all write little scripts. So shout out to Fred.
Yeah, I use also his Geo module at my side project. It's really helppful. Yeah.
What are you doing with AutomatedLab, man? Be honest with me. Let's lay it on the table. No
so
secrets.
I built for my side project, I need a WSUS server. I need a way to have internet access. I need to have a development server, and so I use it for this. If you need a lab, then I just provide the machines, and then they can test. So that's that's the thing why they built AutomatedLab in the first place, to have customer stuff. So if a customer comes with a problem, you send them a lab. Then he sends you the thing that he has done in a PowerShell script. You test it on your side, and you can troubleshoot the error. That's a really good thing, because if you have a clicky solution where you have a Word document sent to you where someone forgot some steps or so, or you don't understand what is in the Word document, it's better to have it scripted that you can come to the error faster. Yeah.
Take us through your journey. What does your career look like? Because we see you now, you're using modules, you're writing code, you're doing, you're connected. So you're probably doing a lot of things best practice because all your friends and the people who you hear from you're in that circle now, which it sounds like early on you weren't when you went to your first conference. You didn't necessarily know that all these things were accessible. Like that was the big shocker for me. I was like, oh, wow. All these people know what to do. We're not like flying in the dark. These are people who are, I guess, MVPs, and people are kind of doing things proper at the highest level. So you're here now. What did it look like early on? How did you get here? Give us through your little journey a little bit. And maybe if you remember any times along the way where somebody really helped you out, or you took a risk and it really paid off. But let's hear that journey.
So I started doing my apprenticeship as a technician IT technician. And then I went to my first company. I think it was don't know exactly what how many people, but we were a small shop. And I did, I think, 3 or 4 gigs before I changed to my current employer. The first was I had to have some kind of a field technician, so I switched hardware. I moved people from one place to another. I did something with printers, so I repaired them and so on. And then I switched to a role where I had to have second or third level client support and server support a bit, but mostly client support. So helping people with why is your software not installing, and Word is not doing this and this. So a bit more advanced, and also got in touch when someone handed us over a server and put a thing on the desktop which is called something.ps1, and they said, okay, run this, type this in, and then this happens. Say, okay, cool, ran it, give it in, blah blah, and then it was nearly, I think, 1 or 2 seconds later, this was done. I said, wow, what's this? And then I started to play around in my free time. I bought a book. If anyone knows what a book is, but I bought a book and did a bit self-taught. Just like Fred was saying, think about a project, try to do it, and then I switched to my current employer and got involved into the automation and PowerShell stuff. I learned every year more because I went every year to the PowerShell conference. I always come back with new modules, new ideas, do a little bit of free time in investment into these modules, and just evolved and got better. That's in a nutshell my career. And now I am this person.
Do you ever look back, or are you just kind of like lost in the moment? Because there's always people, I mean, we're talking about Fred here. We can always compare ourselves to Fred and be like, yeah, I'll probably never get there, and that's okay. But do you ever look back at where you were and be like, wow, I have come a really long way? Even just, I had this realization of using VS Code. The fact that I'm super comfortable and have it customized, and it's not even a second thought to me, like that is really cool. And you're talking about containerizing, you've taken it to the next level. But how do you feel about what you've accomplished so far in your journey?
I do an apprenticeship support for a bit of a time now. And if I tell them, for example, you have to create a new AD user, you right click on it, say new user, type your username and password and so on. So, but now you can do this with PowerShell. Just write this line, and then you have to create 50 users. Okay, just write a for each loop, or just write a for loop, and say user 01, user 02, user 04, and then you have 50 users. How much time do you need to do it via GUI? And then they try to understand the concept. But it does take a bit to click, because if you are a student, you only work with 1 or 2 systems. But if we are the real customer, you're working with hundreds or thousands of servers. And then this makes more sense, but I try to train them at a very early stage.
And I think there's going to be some people out there with small environments. And yes. I was in that boat too, where it's like maybe a few hundred computers. It's still the right choice to do things in a scalable way. You never know when your company's going to grow, but also you want to feel comfortable. If there's a job you want at a big company, you don't want to feel like, oh crap, all I know is this wrong way of doing IT forever. You want to be able to know that you've at least looked up the proper way to do things, and maybe you could handle it. You've done things that can scale, even if you haven't actually scaled it. You've written your scripts that can adapt and all that kind of thing. So definitely want to do things the right way. And it's really cool that you're showing them that from an early stage.
Yes. Yeah. And we always get really good feedback. So I'm doing it with another colleague of mine. She does the networking stuff and so on. And and I'm doing the Active Directory and Modern Workplace stuff. So Intune and everything. And we always get really good feedback about the training material that we are having and so on. So it's I want to forward my knowledge to someone else, because it's always cool to see someone. If you mentor someone, it's always a really good feeling that he can do this alone now. So you explained them some process, and then he won't call you because he knows about the process, and then you have less work to explain some process to someone, and he has more knowledge. So yeah.
Boom. And that's the right approach to things. It just feels better. Your work's going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
You figured it out, man.
Yeah.
I think the cool thing is it's like the community kind of knows, like when you get to a certain spot, we all kind of see things in that way. At least everyone that I run into kind of sees it. Not that everyone's able to contribute at certain times. Maybe you're busier in life or whatever, but having that thought of thinking for the future. Maybe when you write your modules, you're anticipating publishing it from the early stages. Like those small tweaks go such a long way. Even writing good documentation, and even just simple documentation for your functions can be a good example of doing a little bit that it goes a long way. But
I always, if I tell someone just make a function, write PowerShell help. You don't know what the script does when you look at it 6 months from now, or if someone uses the function, just write PowerShell help. If he or she opens the code, then she reads, okay, this function does this. This has this parameters. Examples, cool, nice. Cool, nice. I can use it. That's so much value if you don't document your codes. From my perspective, if there's no documentation, I won't use the code because I'm not in the mood to read thousands and thousands of lines of checking out what the code is doing. I just move on to the next project which has documentation. Yeah.
Boom.
That's it.
Keeping it simple, man. Well, I got a couple questions here for you. All right. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite PowerShell command? Just a command.
Get help / get command.
Oh, you added a slash. Very.
So get command or
I get it.
Get help.
Yeah, I said one command. You said two. I get it. No, it's cool. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just joking. Next question. What is your dream project to work on? Like imagine everything, the stars align at work and you get your dream, everything, there's $1 million budget. You got it all. What do you do?
Mm-hmm. Design the perfect infrastructure in Azure completely with infrastructure as code.
Sounds fun.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite community moment or conference story?
Favorite when I first ran into Bruce at the first conference, because I was not so I asked him a question and he gave me a really technical answer and I said yes, but I ran away and said, what was he talking about? I got this years later that okay, now it clicked. But just meeting with some guy who has impact on PowerShell also, who has impact on my career now because he built it, and he's so much of a friendly person. So
yeah, no, it's always great to see that humanizing those people who are like geniuses. The code they write's incredible. We're all using it all the time, and they're just friendly and approachable. Like,
yeah. So don't be afraid. Just go to the people and say, okay, I have a question. Yeah.
Yep. Man, Constantin, such a pleasure chatting with you today. You know, you have a very special place in my heart because of that interaction on Gather, man. That was so early on. The podcast was pretty new back then, and you were one of the first people to ever come up to me, and it was virtual, but it was the first person to ever just be like, come up and say something nice. And earlier then I didn't hear, you know, now I feel the community love, but back then it was a little bit more like, oh, am I doing something okay? Am I doing an okay job? So it really meant a lot and it helped build my confidence. So thank you so much for that a couple years ago. But it goes to show, just say thank you to somebody. If you have a project, if you see a tweet or a post on LinkedIn from somebody and you're using it, you get some value, say something. It goes so far. It really does. It's the first step. It's like the same thing as filing an issue. Just say something nice, give it a like, send them a message would be the next step, because most of us like talking about this kind of stuff. So send somebody a message. Maybe you'll make a friend. Maybe they'll introduce you to somebody else. Who knows? Maybe fast forward, you'll be on the podcast one day, because just like Constantine, I mean, put yourself out there. Really great things can happen. So Constantine. And
just one thing. When the mentorship program happens, so PowerShell Conference Europe has a mentorship program. That was why I got into speaking at PSConf EU, and will happen also this year, the mentorship program. If you get mentored yourself, that's also a cool thing. So if you get mentored by Gail and Barbara and Rob on session feedback and so on, that's so valuable to have someone to say, okay, no, don't write it like this, write it like that, and so on. So you take so much out of this process. So if you want to speak at a conference or want to have some feedback on your session, so attend this program. I am not seeing this chance at another conference. So just go to this. If you want to deliver a technical project. They will give you feedback about your sessions and your style to write, because it's a bit of a challenge to deliver a session to this conference. It's not easy, and to have a mentorship program, it's really valuable. Yeah,
awesome. Well, thank you, Constantine, so much. What an excellent chat today. Very lucky to get to talk to you. I know we've been talking about this for a while. I appreciate your patience. PSConf EU, we ended up nailing it. We got PowerShell Wednesday as well, which you crushed, man. I'm just so proud of how well you did. It really brought a tear to my eye. I don't remember you. I cried as soon as the recording ended. It's not going to be on camera, but you remember, right?
Perfect. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having
me. It was a pleasure.
And I'll have links to all your socials down below. I'll have a link to RSVP to the user group in a couple days if you're catching this early. If you're an avid listener, you're here on a Monday, I am a big friend of you, and I love you for listening. Thank you so much. It's nice to not just be talking to ourselves, but honestly, Constantine, I would just talk to you. It's Perfect. Really nice to have the excuse to just explore conversations, share passions, and kind of hopefully help out some people along the way, maybe here and there, at least get them to work safely. So I want to say to everybody out there, thank you for being part of this PowerShell community. We really are so fortunate to be part of it and have such a good vibe in the community. Walk safe, drive safe, do whatever you're doing safely, take care of yourself, reach out to somebody, say something nice, check out PSFramework, check out, if you're a DBAtools, Constantine. Oh, discord.gg/PDQ. Check us out, the PowerShell scripting channel. We're having fun all the time. PowerShell Wednesdays, every single Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Next week, I'm going to be at a conference, and I'm still going to be there. But Constantine, you're helping me out. So shout out to everybody, and we will see you next time, my friends.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the PowerShell Podcast. The PowerShell Podcast is a PDQ production, making device management simple, secure, and pretty damn quick.